Okay, so today we're gonna review functions and talk about conditionals mainly, I think. And if we have time, we'll get to review GitHub again, or not review, but some of you might be new to it. I'll show you how to upload your websites to GitHub. So for now, let's create a new folder. And why don't we just, I don't know, just make some sort of website and see how we could use JavaScript in the website. Say some practical JavaScript for web development. So I'm gonna create, see, we got booleans, objects. Let's make a new one here called um, functions. Okay, so what you could think of some interactive things that you've seen on websites that might be difficult to do with no JavaScript, such as a slideshow or a dropdown. I already showed you how to do a dropdown last time in well, in another class I showed how to do a dropdown with JavaScript, but we'll do one today, and this time I'll explain everything and it'll be easier to understand now that we're learning JavaScript. And then we'll see how we could do like a slideshow. Um, what else? I think that's pretty much it. I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head. Oh, the canvas element is going to be fun, but I think we'll do that a little bit later once we have a better understanding. But the HTML canvas is a place where you can animate and create games and stuff. You can make Tetris or Pong. There's also the 3D canvas, but I've never actually messed with that yet, so probably not going to talk about that. Um, let's start with index.html. And then let's create our CSS folder. Click outside of that and create another folder for the JavaScript. And let's create another folder for images. Okay, so we're going to have a website, we have a CSS, images, and JavaScript folder, and an index.html file. And we can generate our boilerplate with exclamation tab. Okay, and what should we make this website about? Something visual, so maybe uh, I don't know, I'll do cars or something. Okay, let's call this cars consider 2026. I just need a topic, so I don't think of something and just gonna sit here. Oh, should I use this? I think I should. I'm gonna leave the AI on because this is the type of stuff that I don't want to sit and think about, and I'll just let the AI fill it in for me. So the title, cars to consider in 2026, and we have an unordered list, and it's just listing some cars over here. With some information. I mean, that's not exactly what I'm gonna create here, but I guess we could make use of this information though, the car information that it gave me. I'm gonna make this a navigation. Nah, let's not make a navigation out of this. It wouldn't make sense to have a nav bar that lists every car, right? Actually, maybe we could. So yeah, I'm gonna make this a navigation bar. That means we're gonna take all of this, create a nav, or let's do a header first, and inside the header, a nav bar. So your navigation makes sense to put it in the header of your document. Okay. And then when I create a header, I remember footers. So let's put a footer on the bottom before the closing body tag. Also before the closing body tag, let's put a script tag. Right now, we don't have any JavaScript yet, but let's create a new JS file. Let's call it index.js. And let's link to it with the source attribute on the script tag. So we're going to go to js / index.js. All right, while we're at it, let's do our link. Rel equals style sheet, href equals css / call this styles.css. Open up our CSS folder and create a styles.css. Okay, so far we haven't done much. I just created some empty elements. We have an H1, but that's about it. We are linking to a JavaScript file and a CSS file. So we're ready to start using this CSS file and this JavaScript file. They should affect our page once I start using it. So let's double check. Right click open with live server. Cars to consider. Let's click on the styles and just type in body, background color, red, just to see if it changes color. It does. So we know our CSS is connected. And then in our index, we can just type in alert, save that, and refresh the page. Oh, wait, I spelled alert wrong. Okay, this pops up, so we know the JavaScript is working, right? Because as soon as I refresh the page or load the page, it just runs this command and already tries to alert something. JavaScript is linked. Let's move on. Let's go back to our index.html. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. Okay, I still have this in my clipboard. I copied it earlier. Mm, this is our list of cars. It's in an unordered list, and I put it in the navigation. But let's do this. I'm just gonna put the name of the car and nothing else in here. So actually, let me cut this or copy it, and I'll put it here somewhere. And then up here, let's delete everything except the name. And let me turn this off so it doesn't keep doing that. Okay. We don't need the strong tags. Get rid of those for now. because this is just going to be a navigation with buttons. We don't need strong and we don't need extra information. We just want the name of a car. So all of this can go away. So first one is just Tesla Model S Plaid or Plaid. Next one, Lucid Air. Next one, Rivian R1. Ford Mustang Mach-E. Porsche Taycan. Looks like they're all electric. We call these electric cars to consider in 2026 since it gave me all these electric ones. Um, this information right now is just information. I'm gonna use that later. But right now we just have this list of cars. We need to make this look more like a navigation. I'll kind of make these shorter. Like I don't think I need to include Plaid in there. Plaid and Mach-E. I guess that's a big part of the car. I mean, if I just put Ford Mustang without the Mach-E, that's a whole different car. So I'll leave that one. And let's style this navigation. Get rid of the bullets. We'll have it listed horizontally, and then on a mobile, it'll return to a column like this, but of course bigger and nicer. Okay, so we need to hop over to the CSS file. I'm gonna start with um, star, open and close curly braces, and margin 0, padding 0, box sizing border box. And if you don't remember, a star is a way to select every HTML element. So if I want to make all the margins and paddings 0, just to reset it, because the browser puts its own margin and padding, and I don't want that, so I'm just making it all 0. And box sizing border box just means if I add padding, don't include that, or don't add on to the width of the element. If I set something to 100 pixels, then it's 100 pixels. The padding that I add on it should not make it bigger. So just basic HTML reset, and down here we'll start with the header. Start with making it a different color. Say background color. Let's go through here and see what I want to use. Say I want to go with no, this light blue color. You can see it's updated there. Now let's go into the nav. I'm using nesting, so if you're not familiar with this used to be an SCSS thing only, or SAS, but regular CSS now supports nesting, so you could put your element selectors inside other element selectors instead of doing like header nav. I could just put the header styles, and then if the nav is inside the header, I'll just put nav inside the header. so it's easier to know where everything is, just more organized. So for navigation, I don't really need any styles on the nav itself, but the UL inside the nav, we're gonna say list style none. Oh, okay, well it did it for me. Display flex, justify content space around, padding, 1 rem 0. Let me do this myself so we don't get lost. This style type none is to get rid of the bullets, but then when I put 0 margins on everything, we can't even see the bullets, so it didn't really make a difference here. But this is how you get rid of the bullets. Display flex puts them in a row instead of a column. Justify content and space evenly. We'll spread them apart evenly, so there's even space between each one. Um, that's it. Let's move on to the LIs. It's the list item inside the UL. These I probably won't style. Instead, let's go for the what's inside. What's inside should be a link. So I'm gonna type in an A to get an anchor tag, A href, and let's put this inside. I'm gonna do that with all of them, and AI is gonna just do it for me because it already knows that's what I'm trying to do. So instead of just the LI with the Tesla Model S in there, it's just we added a link in there. And now the link doesn't go anywhere, but I'll put a hashtag Model S in there or Model. Okay, let's just put Tesla. Next one, Lucid, and it already knows Rivian, Ford, Porsche. That means when I click this button, it's going to look for an element on the page with this ID and try to scroll to it. But we don't have it, so nothing happens. Also, the page has to have content. It has to have a height for it to scroll. Right now, we can't scroll anywhere because there's nothing to scroll to. Alright, the reason why I need this here is because whenever I hover over these, I wanna I want the whole like area that I click on to be a button. So here, when I add padding to the A's, let's say 5 pixels and 15 pixels, and then let's add a background color. Let's go with light blue, but I'm gonna um, make it a little bit darker. And then I'm gonna add display block. So display block will affect the padding, how the padding is gonna be applied. If you don't put display block, the A normally is an inline element, so when you put padding, kind of ignores it, or the paddings will overlap. So if I delete that, you can see they kind of shrink down a little bit. So you gotta have the display block on links that you wanna add padding to. Let's make them a lot bigger because everything's tiny. Let's say A. Okay, sure. Color white. text decoration none, so we get rid of the underline, but let's also change the font size. Make it 1.4 EM. Make it a little bit bigger. All right. What's next? I don't like the space evenly. Let's make this center. Center it instead of spreading them apart. And let's add something else to the header. Let's add a div here with a class of logo. Let's throw in a logo. Or fine. For now, I'll just say electric cars to consider in 2026. Actually, no. That's not a good logo text. Let's pretend the company or website is called Auto. Okay, fine. Auto Vision. It's our logo. So that logo inside, text align center, padding 20 pixels, 0, H1, font size 2EM, just to make that a little bit bigger. All right. And this color that I put on the H1, or not that one, sorry, this color that I put on the A's, that background color, I'm gonna put it on the whole nav. So it goes from edge to edge. And then when I hover over these, let it go a little darker. So we do and colon if we're trying to add a hover. And we'll change the background color. Instead of this light blue, we'll make it a little bit darker. So end hover and then change the background color. Just take that color and make it a little bit darker. So when you hover over it, it's that color but darker. Okay, so we got our buttons at the top for our navigation. We could make this like a sidebar. I think it would make more sense. And then like I don't know. I'm thinking this would be like just some blog page of a website or like a featured, I don't know, article on a website. We're just talking about cars to consider. Like it wouldn't make sense to make a whole website just about this. So, but whatever. We're just the whole point of this is just to look at adding interaction with the JavaScript, which we haven't got to yet. So forget about making sense or having an actual functional website. We're just gonna practice JavaScript on this. Okay. So, but I still want to make it look decent. So I'm gonna make this H1 centered. This is outside of the header, right? This is down here. It's an H1. Let's put this in another section. Call it here Call it main section. Okay, inside main, we'll have different sections for each car. Okay, so just letting the AI fill this in for me. I'll add pictures afterwards, but just adding some content for now. Okay, main section, need some style too. Start with some padding. Let's put a max width of 640 pixels. Margin auto, so it's centered. And the H1 inside there, let's make the font size a little bit bigger, change the color, add some margin, the text align center. Make it even bigger, that's kind of small. Let's do 2.5. Okay, let me see. Did we add IDs? We did. So each section right now has an ID. That ID corresponds to one of the list items. So if the page was long enough, clicking that would take me to each of the sections, but we still have a small page, so there's nowhere to scroll to yet, so nothing happens when I click these. I mean, unless I zoom in really close, then you can see clicking on it takes me to the car. All right, let's style the sections. So for each section, let's give it like a rounded rectangle border. Say border radius 15 pixels, background color what about light blue? Kind of using that too much. Let's use like a yellow color that matches that blue. Yeah, let's go with that. Gonna add some padding. Okay, padding around each section. Let's put some margins between each section. So margin bottom 20 pixels. Space between each one. And then each section has, what is it, an H2? We could center that, or I'm gonna add a picture inside each uh, of these boxes or each of the sections. Let's see. So we should have like a left and a right side for each of these boxes. I kind of want to make them a little wider. So let's go back to the styles and set the max width to like, I don't know, 870. Okay, a little bit wider. And we're gonna split it into like two columns. So on one side of the box will be this text, and then on the other side we could have a picture of the car. That means we need to create a div inside here. Give it a class of um, I don't know, car info, car details, or I don't know, car content. Put an image in there on one side, and then this paragraph on the other side. Cool. So it automatically added this images / Tesla Model S JPEG, but I don't have that yet, so we're gonna see a broken image. Added an alt tag, which you should always add an alt tag to your images, alt tag to describe the image in case it doesn't load. See, right now it says Tesla Model S plaid, so or plaid. So if the picture doesn't show, you see the description instead. And then class car image. Sure, I'll use that class on all of them. Now, if we could get this to quickly apply to all of the other ones, that would be nice. Like it's doing it. That's good. All I have to do is do a couple of them, and then it figures out what I want to do and does the rest for me. Very useful Copilot. Um, let's grab some images, and then I'm gonna share this file with you so you could follow along on the rest of it. I think we're getting close to starting to use the JavaScript on this. So let me just go look for some pictures online. Let's go to, I wonder if Unsplash or any of these free image websites have these cars. Definitely have the Tesla. Let's at least get the right model, Model S. Wait, is this? Yeah, okay, this should be okay to use. Download free. Next, we need Lucid. Rivian. Mach E. can. Right, we got our pictures. Let's put them in the images folder. Let's change the names. Rivian should be, I don't know. Okay, there's the Rivian. I'm just gonna rename it to whatever um, name I have over here. So Ford Mustang Mach E.jpg should be this one. And Porsche Taycan.jpg for the Porsche. What's left? Lucid Air. And then the Tesla called Tesla Model S.jpg. Rename that image to that. Oh, get rid of the extra JPG. Alright, now the pictures should show up, and they do, but they're way too big. So we go to our styles. We gave each image a class of car image, car-image, but we could also select it by section, div image, or car content image. Any of those selectors will work. So that's in the section. We could say car content. Okay, it did it all for me, but let me just go ahead and erase it because I don't want to go faster than I'm going. Car content, let's snooze this. Car content, um, car image, give it a width of 100%. So that it doesn't, it won't be any bigger than the container that I put it in. So they fit inside the boxes, which have a max width of 870 pixels. So right now they're as big as the box. We also changed their height to 100%, but wait, why isn't the Rivian working? Oh, because I still have the extra JPG on that. There we go. Okay, I put a width of 100% on the image, but the container doesn't really have a height, so it's kind of unlimited. Let's make sure all of our sections have like a max height. Max height, let's say 500 pixels. Right now, the image overflows. It's sticking out of the box, as you can see here. This picture is not contained in the box. It's coming out. So make sure car content has a max height of 100%. So it doesn't do that. Oh wait, it still does that. Oh, we need to clip the image. So if it doesn't fit, we need to say object fit cover. So it's gonna act more like a um, background image, but hold on, it's still not working. We're missing something. Image, class, car image, car content. Why is it sticking out still? Section has a max height of 500 pixels. Max height of the car content is 100%. Max height of, let's put max height instead of height, see if that does anything. Not really. Okay, so what's going on? Why is the picture overflowing? Maybe because I put max height instead of a height on the section. Okay, I believe it's working. It's just still overflowing, maybe because of, I don't know, margins. Or no, it's because there's text up there. Okay, that makes sense. So the text is just pushing it down, but it does have a height of 100%. So the height of the image should be what, 500 pixels. So 460. Wait, what am I looking at here? Image 460, 460. They all have a height of 460 pixels. It looks like. Why 460? Cause um I think it's because of the height. 500 minus 20 pixels padding from the section. 20 pixels on the top and 20 pixels on the bottom. That's 40 pixels. So 500 minus 40, that leaves 460. But then the text also pushes it down. But that's fine though, because we're going to put them side by side. We're not going to leave it like this. So the car content has to be split into two sides. We can do that with um, display grid, grid template columns, one FR, one FR. And oh, and there's still the title that's pushing it down, this one. So what should we do so that doesn't happen? Because that's going to be a problem because whenever I switch to mobile view, I still want it to stack up like this, but I don't want it to leak out of the box. So we need to address that. Um, I think what we need to do is just instead of putting a height of 100%, we should just put a max height of like 400 pixels so that doesn't happen. Let's go a little bit lower, 360. Okay, so we'll just put a pixel number for the height of each image so it fits in the box. The car content box also we need to get rid of that 100% height. That doesn't need to be there. Alright, but yeah, now it's sort of functioning. We got buttons we can click to go down to the car. We need to make it look a little bit nicer by adding maybe some paragraph padding. Okay, so it's not so close to the picture. Looks a little better. The the fonts could be updated, but we'll do that. Let's do it now. Let's go to Google Fonts. 'Cause it makes a huge difference when you pick a different font than the default one. Like for example, I'll go with Google Sans. So we go to Google Fonts, we click on a font, click on Get Embed Code, and then click on either link and then copy all of this. That's the link to the font. And then this is the name of the font and the style that you'll use. Or this one actually, just the font family. That's all you need really. So we need to copy this and the font family. Yeah, why is Roboto condensed in there? I think I already had some fonts picked out earlier. Let me delete those. So we just want Google Sans. All right, get embed code. Gonna copy this. We could also do this, add import, which means you just take this and paste it in your CSS file. That works too. But I mean, there might be an advantage to this. I don't know what it is, but there's gotta be a reason why there's like 3 links instead of just a single add import, right? So guessing this loads quicker or something. So we'll use that one. So we go to our index.html, and right here where we put our CSS link, I'll paste these 3 Google links. So link pre-connect fonts.google APIs, fonts.gstatic, and then the font itself. Once we do that, we can use the font. And to use the font, we need to grab the font name, font family, Google Sans. Copy that, go to my styles, just put it on the body so everything uses Google Sans. So now if we look at this, we're using this Google Sans font. Looks a little better. We could play with the colors. I don't like these colors so much, but we're not gonna worry about that because we got more important things to do, like first making this 2 columns. So car content, display grid, grid template columns, 1FR, 1FR. The section height, let me delete that, see what happens. Okay, that's better. The text needs to, I mean, it's all empty below. Either we need to add more text or we need to add like something, like some specs. I think we should do that because it's kind of plain just having like a little paragraph. We should add the specs for the car. So I don't know, the price and all that should be listed here. That means go to our index.html, go to our car content, and then this paragraph is gonna be above that text that I want to add. That means I can't just add another thing here like a UL because I add that there. It's gonna look like where's the Rivian? It's gonna look like this. It's gonna put the paragraph text here. It's gonna put this here, and then the picture is gonna be down there because I put two columns and now I have three things in there. So first is the paragraph, then it's the other thing, and then it's the picture taking up the second row. But I want this and this to be in the same column. So what you need to do is just put them in a box together. So the paragraph and the UL, wrap them with a div. That way they'll go together and then there'll be a picture on the side. Um, we should do something about the unordered list looking so, I don't know, it looks bad. We should go to styles, car content, and then check the UL. Give it, let's see, needs some padding on the top and the bottom. It needs margin left 20 pixels. This is already disk, so we don't need to specify that. And let's put margin not just on the left, but alright, we got padding. Let's do padding on the right side and the left side of 5 pixels. 15 pixels. I should put it on the right side. Margin right, 10 pixels. This was not so close to the picture. And I want it to look a little different than the rest of the paragraph text, so we should make it a little bit bolder or bigger. Font size 1.2 EM. And then actually I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna make it even smaller than the paragraph text. Let's make it 0.8 EM, so it's smaller than the paragraph. But then I'm gonna add like more space between each LI with margin or padding like 10 pixels on the top and the bottom, and then 0 on the sides. They're more spread apart. Let's go like 7 because 10 feels too much. And then the line height of this could be increased. So line height on the paragraph 1.5. This title, which is an H2. Inside the section, let's make that text align center. Okay, The paragraph, I think we should get rid of the top padding. So, or we should add padding to the top of the image or margin. Match the 15 pixels. Yeah, let's go with padding top 15 pixels. So it matches the paragraph's padding top 15 pixels. So it's not closer to the H2 over there. All right. It's also that whole div that I put these guys in, the paragraph and the unordered list. Let's give that background color of white and additional padding. And margin top 15 pixels. Like now that I added that box, I could probably get rid of this padding. All right, the other ones don't have the div yet, so they don't look like that. Need to go to the other ones and put them in a div. So start with the first one. So the paragraph and then the unordered list. So make a div. Stick the paragraph in there and then add a unordered list with some information, which I'll let the AI generate. And it already knows what to do. Cool. So they all now have that same setup. I should center this in this box. We could do that since we're using display grid. We can say just like content or I think it's line item center. Then again, um, that centers the whole white box, which is fine, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna make that box different color. This one, it's like be nicer in black with the white text over it. And then let's round the corners. Let's do border radius 10 pixels, 0, 0, 10 pixels. So that only the two corners on the left side are rounded. This one's flat. 10 pixels, top left, 0, top right, 0, bottom right, 10, bottom left. Goes clockwise starting from here. Okay, I feel like we're going with a darker theme, so let's go with body, background color, something darker. And for these text over here, make it a little bit, what is that, the H1? Make that a little bit brighter. Oh wait, that was that H1. Leave that one, maybe make that black. And then, where's the other H1? This one. Right. I think we have our setup for like the HTML and the CSS. I think is done. So we should move on to the JavaScript now. I'll just add a footer and then I'll upload this. You guys could download it, or I'll put it in the chat as well. And then you can follow along as we start with the JavaScript on this, okay? But this was all just HTML, CSS review. Grab that footer. Let's take a break. Right, so I just changed the section background color to this blue color instead of black, just to match the header. And since I'm rounding all these corners, let's round the corners of the picture too. The car image. Let's add a border, a radius to that as well. Seem to have added the border radius, but why is it only covering the bottom? Looks like the border radius is not covering the top. I wonder why. Usually, I mean, my first instinct is to think that it's cut off somehow, and yeah, it was because of the padding. Okay, well, I guess padding top is not a good idea on the car image. Let's do margin top so that doesn't happen. So change the padding top to margin top, and then you should see the rounded corners. And then let's put like a um, border radius or not, sorry, not border radius. Let's put a border, uh, 2 pixels solid white. Do we need that? I'll make it a little bit thicker. All right, let's add in case you want to change the colors of your HTML file and you want to do it more easily than having to go through and change all these colors one by one, you should create variables for your CSS colors. So what you do is you could create variables with you first have to pick where you want the variables to be available, and usually you want it to be available everywhere or the root of your document. So you could make it only available inside the header, for example. Like I could create a variable called my custom blue, and the only place I'll be able to use it is in the header if I define it in the header. But since I want to be able to use colors everywhere, I'll define it in. I could either put it in a body or I could put it in HTML since I want it to be available everywhere. Oh, by the way, we should add this scroll behavior smooth too, because that adds this smooth scrolling movement to your anchor links. So when I click Tesla or if I click Porsche, it scrolls with an animation instead of just jumping. If I turn that off, you'll see here that I click it, it just jumps down. So probably better to do scroll behavior smooth on that. Okay, but let's add the variables. So the way you add variables in CSS is with dash dash and um, name of the color. Let's say custom, or let's say main blue. And right now it's this, but I kind of don't like this color anymore, so I'll make it a little bit. I don't know. Let's apply main blue everywhere, and then we'll see what it looks like. So for the background color, for the header, let's do dash dash light blue. And let's make a light blue version of this color. Okay, and then for the header, instead of using this light blue color that I have, I'll put var parentheses dash dash light blue. Okay, so now that changes to this new color. So the way you create the variable is with the dash dash, and then you could call it whatever you want. So dash dash main blue, dash dash light blue. You have to define these colors where you want them to be available. So the scope is going to be the HTML file, the whole HTML. So I put it in the HTML selector so it's available everywhere. And then to use it, you use var dash dash. You put var parentheses and then dash dash whatever color you had. So now my header is using the light blue, and then I'm using main blue on the navigation. Let's change these to also use main blue. That's the LIs, or that actually is the A inside the LI. So instead of this RGB for the background color, I'll delete that and put var main blue. Use it on, what's this? On hover. On hover, we could use create another one called like dark blue or something. Dash dash dark blue. You could also, I think we could make this even more useful by saying light blue is gonna be main blue, but lighter. I forgot how you do it. I think we say lighten. Actually, this might be only available in SCSS, not in regular CSS. I gotta look it up. CSS lighten. CSS does not have a native lighten function like Sass. You can achieve this effect using modern CSS, such as relative color syntax, color mixing, or HSL manipulation. Never mind. Okay, I don't think it's available in regular CSS. um, so there was in if you use Sass or SCSS, like basically a CSS with extra powers, you would be able to use something like lighten, and then you could pick a color and lighten it by however much you want. But we can't do that, so I'm just gonna pick that color and just make it lighter. And then the same thing for the dark color. I'll just start with this color and just make it a little bit darker. And then start using main blue, light blue, and dark blue instead of all the different custom blues everywhere. This is dark blue. For each of the sections, it's going to be main blue. So where did it go? So section, delete that and put main blue. Put light blue instead of whatever it was for the footer. So now it's easier to change. So say I don't want this kind of blue, maybe I want more like a greenish blue. I could just do this, save it, and they all update. So I want a more purple blue. Do that, update it. So variables are useful for that reason. But I'm gonna leave it on this color. Wait, no. Was this the one I want to use? I'll go with something like that. There we go. Okay, so let's go with that blue color. Now I'm using variables. So CSS also has variables as you see here. So it's kind of like JavaScript where you give it a name, except here it has to start with dash dash or minus minus. And then you pick the value for that color. You could do this with not just colors, but like sizes too. Like you could create another variable called like small padding and make it 5 pixels, medium padding, and then you could use that instead of putting custom numbers. But I just usually use it for colors. leaving it up for a second so you guys can update yours to use variables as well. Anyways, let's start adding our JavaScript. So first thing we're going to do is create a navigation bar that works on mobile. Right now this does not work on a phone. Obviously the buttons don't fit. If I add more buttons, I'll have even less room, so it won't fit up there anymore. So we need to switch to a drop down with a column layout instead of a row. And we can do that by going to the UL. And here, this is where we made it display flex, so it shows up in a row. But we need a version of this where it's a column. So to make it a column, we could either take away the display flex and just make it display block, so it looks like that. Or we could have a version where we add flex direction column. And again, that does the same thing. So either flex direction column or change the display type to block. Um, what else? We'll have to do a few other things like center the text and all that. So the way we want to do it is after the last rule here that I have, I'll just add a space here and add um, end dot mobile. Actually, sorry, don't do that. We could do it that way, but that's more complicated. Let's add a media query. We'll eventually add like a end dot open, but right now let's do end or not end, but add media to max width around 600 pixels is like a phone size pretty much, where we'll do flex direction column or display block. Okay, so that means if I make my screen 600 pixels, this should change to display block on the UL. That's what this does. So let's go here. Let me inspect this. So you can see here the width is around 1200. Now it's at 1000, 900, 800, 700, and 600. So when I switch to 600, it goes to a single column. But I could probably do it a lot earlier because like this, it looks ugly. This is fine, but any smaller than this, which is what, like, let's say at 870. 870 will make it switch to a column. So instead of 600, change that to 870. So when we get to 870, boom, it switches to this layout instead of this layout. Okay. What else we want to do though? We want to maybe center all of that. So text align center. Probably want to make them a little bit further apart because if this was on a phone and you have fat fingers, you don't want to accidentally click the wrong button. So let's make sure they're nice and big. Let's do, well, now we're going to need another media query for the A's because that's where we put the padding. Let's add one here. Add media. max width 870. Font size should be bigger, not smaller. So let's go 1.8 bigger font. And then for that padding, it's 5 pixel 15 originally. Let's change that to padding 10 pixels. A little bit further apart. Okay, so when we make the screen smaller, it becomes like that. What else? We could also make it, um, we could animate the, well, not yet. Okay, let's, we're gonna hide it. So when we get to this size, the way we hide this is we set the height to 0 and then overflow none. So if this has a height of 0 and we set overflow none, so whatever doesn't fit is hidden, it'll disappear. Okay. Um, so initially it has to be hidden, and then we'll open it whenever we click a button. But for now, let's make it hidden. So we'll do that by saying um, height or max height. Max height 0. I'm doing max height instead of height because I don't know how tall the UL is gonna get. Wait, sorry, no, don't put it here. This is the A. I have to put it here on the UL. So at media screen 870. Let's do, well, we could do the whole navigation actually. Say add media, because I don't want to see this blue at all. It's gonna be completely gone. So this navigation has that main blue on it. So let's hide the entire navigation, not just the UL inside. So at media, max width 870, max height 0. Okay, and overflow hidden. So it should hide now if I do this. Boom, it's gone. Okay, so it's gonna be gone until we set the max height to like something big enough to fit the whole thing, like 700 pixels. Then it'll come back. Okay, but as long as the max height is 0, we're not gonna see it. So we need to do something that changes max height to like 700. And we could do that with and dot open max height, let's say 700 pixels. That means if I go to here and let's go to our navigation. If this navigation ever has a class of open, it's gonna open. And if we delete the class of open, it's gonna close back up. I don't know why this decided not to get centered. Was this supposed to be centered? Yeah, it's this H1. Oh, I never put text align center. I did, I put it here. So, oh, I think when I made it, I have no idea why is that not centered anymore. That's weird. Try width 100%. Is this not an H1? It is, so what happened? Why is it not center? Header logo H1. Header. Oh, I actually deleted the class logo. Oops, no wonder. Might open. That's one. If I delete open, we don't see the navigation. But if I add open, it opens the navigation. So we need now that's what we're going to use JavaScript for. Okay, the JavaScript is going to be used to select the nav. We're going to say document dot get element by class name or by name or by ID. If we give it an ID, so we'll do get element by ID navbar, and then we'll say class list dot toggle the open class. So if we want this class equals open to be added and removed, we'll have to toggle it. And we could do that with JavaScript. Okay, so that's the first thing we'll do. It's pretty simple, right? I mean, kind of explain how it's going to work. Hopefully that's understandable. So let's go to our JavaScript and start with let navbar equal document dot get element by ID navbar. Okay, if I type navbar, we could see there's that navbar. And right now, it just has an ID of navbar. Okay, we got the whole element saved as this variable. Okay, next we're gonna say, oh, how do we toggle it? Well, we could do like window dot add event listener, let's say key down or key press. Function event. Okay, so if we do key press, we're gonna pass in a function which is gonna be that key press event. And because this is a key press event, that event is gonna have a button that you clicked on. Any button on the keyboard. In this case, it's M. I don't know why M, but here let's forgot what the space bar would be. I don't think it's called space. But let's do M because that's easier. So if it's M or capital M, smaller case or lowercase, if we press that button, navbar.class, we're gonna toggle open. So if I save this and I go here and I press the letter M on my keyboard, it's not doing anything. I thought it would work. Okay, let's check the console. Oh wait, sorry, it's already open, that's why. Okay, it's working. So if I press M, it adds the class of open to the navbar. So it opens and closes by pressing the button M on my keyboard. But that's not how we're going to do it. Instead, we're going to have to click something. And for that, we need to add a button to click on. Whenever this closes, we have to have something that we click on to trigger the navigation. So that's going to be another div here. We could put that here after or right before the nav bar. Give that a class equals button or nav bar toggler or hamburger because it looks like a hamburger. So this navbar toggler is just going to be a div with 3 spans inside. The spans are going to be 3 bars. So we go to our styles, go to our header, and then we say dot navbar toggler. Let's turn this off so it doesn't do it for me. Navbar dash toggler. It's our button. We want to make that, let's give it a width of 50 pixels and a height of 30 pixels. And a background color, I'll just make it red so we can see it. But there it is. Let's make it a little bit taller, like 60. Oh wait, that's the width. Make it 40 pixels tall and 60 pixels wide. It's a good size. That's gonna be our toggler. We're gonna go to our JavaScript. Say let navbar toggle equal document get element by. I didn't give it an ID, did I? I said class equals navbar toggler. Give it an ID of navbar toggler so we could get it more easily in the JavaScript. Get element by ID, and the ID is navbar dash toggler. Yeah. Okay, we'll do navbar toggle dot add event listener. So this time instead of key down and pressing the letter M on my keyboard, listen for a click. So when we click the navbar toggle, we'll toggle nav. So we need to make a function called toggle nav, or we could just put the function directly inside here like this and tell it what to do. But just to make this easier to read, I'll make a function called toggle nav. And also we're talking about functions. So remember, the way we write the function is going to matter. Remember, everything is read from top to bottom. So if you want to use a function called toggle nav, and yeah, if you want to use it here, that means that toggle nav has to be defined before I try to use it. So we're going to say let toggle nav equal function. Right, you could do that, or remember there's one situation where it doesn't matter. You could define the function after, and that's if you define the function this way by just writing the function keyword and toggle nav. Right, this way is okay to use the function after you try to use it here, so defining it after using it. But if you're trying to, if you define the function this way, let toggle nav equal function, then yeah, if you do it this way you have to define it before you try to call it. Okay, just this function keyword is special. Something happens when you load the page where it looks at all the function definitions, all the ones toggled this way or defined this way with the function keyword. It loads that before it starts reading from top to bottom. Okay, but that's the exception. But if you write it like this with defining it as a variable like let, then you have to define it before you use it. Same with arrow functions, because arrow functions are written kind of similar to this way. Here's an arrow function of the same thing. Right? That's the arrow function version. Here's the arrow. So 3 ways to write functions. 1, 2, or 3, the OG way. The original way is this way. These two, you got to define the function before using it. This one, you could define it anywhere. Okay, so let's do this one first. Toggle nav. We're gonna grab the navbar toggle. Oh, wait, sorry. I'm not gonna grab the navbar toggle. We have to grab the navbar itself. Navbar. And then we're gonna use this built-in function called class. Well, not a function, it's a property. The navbar class list property. That's gonna list all of the classes in the navbar. And we're gonna toggle a class called open on it. So we're gonna grab the navbar and add a class of open when we click. Click again, we're gonna turn it off. Toggle means turn it on and off. If I said class list dot add, it would just add it. If I said remove, it would just remove it every time I click, but toggle does both, adds and removes. Okay. But yeah, so do it here or here, doesn't matter. But no point in doing it 3 times, so I'm just gonna delete these two. Alright, we got our navbar, we got our toggle. We added the event listener of a click to the navbar toggle. And whenever we click, we call this function called toggle nav, and here's that function toggle nav. And that's gonna toggle the open class on the navbar. Pretty simple, right, to understand? Yeah, we could put that function anywhere. I'll put it at the top just to remind you that you should define things before using them, even though this one in particular, it's fine if we don't do that. Okay. Any questions on that? This should work.
Will you be sharing this new version from the original one you just sent?
Yeah, I'll update it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, where is our navbar? It disappeared. Okay, navbar, toggler, navbar, toggler. Oh, it's because I changed it to an ID. Need to update this so it's not a dot anymore. Dots for classes, hashtags for ID. All right, if I click this, boom, it opens and closes our navigation. So that's going to be our button. We need to hide it though whenever this is visible, because this is only for opening and closing the navbar, which is already open on a full screen. We only need it to appear at this size. So that means Navbar toggler should be display none by default, and we should only see it at media max with 870. It looks like it just added some styles to place it on the top right for me, which is display block, position absolute, top 20, right 20, cursor pointer. If you guys remember, absolute positioning means you can put it anywhere relative to the container, or the container that also has a position set. Since I didn't really put none of these, the navbar toggler, the header, none of these have position properties. So technically, this is now positioning this 20 pixels from the top of the window, 20 pixels from the right of the window. But that's fine. That's what I want. And also because it's absolute, it doesn't push this to the left or anything. This ignores it, so I can place this over other elements without interfering with their positioning because it's absolute. If it wasn't absolute, it would go down to the next line, or if I didn't want it to go to the next line, and I would have to make it display or display inline block, and then this would have to be inline block as well, which is the H1. And take away that width of 100%. And oh, also the logo. There's a bunch of stuff. Okay. Since it's the logo that contains the H1, this is what I would have to put display inline block on. Yeah, and I could put them next to each other. But yeah, I'm not trying to do that, so put it back the way it was. Position absolute, top 20 pixels, means 20 pixels from the top and 20 pixels from the right. And I don't want this to be a red box, but that's just to demonstrate how it works. Instead of making it a red box, let's make this a little bit nicer. So background color doesn't need, but the spans inside, I mean, there's a reason why we added these 3 spans. It's gonna be 3 white bars. So background color, hashtag FFF, display block, height 4 pixels, margin 6 pixels, top and bottom 0 on the sides, border radius 2 pixels. Sure, if you want to round it a little bit. Let's increase that margin to 8 pixels. Okay, there's that button. It needs to change into an X when I click on it, right? Because it doesn't make sense. If it's open, it should show a close. And actually, this is kind of a light background, so let me use a dark color on this. Let's use our variables. Var dash dash dark blue. Okay. Yeah, to make this form an X, we need to rotate these two 45 degrees. So and child 1. Oh, whenever this thing has the open class. So not here. Um, well, yeah, we could do this since I wanna rotate this but only whenever the nav bar is open. So navbar toggler, we could also give that a class of open. Otherwise, I have to go to actually I wouldn't even be able to do it this way because it's not inside the nav. I was gonna say if the navbar has a class of open on it, then change the navbar toggler to also be to rotate to show an X, but it's not inside the navbar, so I can't do that. It's outside of it. This is the navbar, that's the toggler. If this was inside, I would have to do that, but it's not inside. It's on its own. So we could also toggle an open class on this one. Okay, so if the navbar is open, yeah, I added a class of open on it so we could see what it's gonna look like. Let's go back to the navbar toggler. So if this thing has and dot open, we're gonna rotate the first span 45 degrees. So colon first child transform rotate 45 degrees. Now it's rotated. The second one will hide, so there's no more middle line. And then the third one will rotate negative 45 degrees. I need to adjust the movement here. It translated. Translate is how you move something. Uh, I don't need to move it to the left or the right. I just need to move it up and down. So put the 0 there. And then move it up, I don't know, try 10 pixels and negative 10 pixels. Let's go 15. It's close, not quite. Let's try 16. I think it's 17. Okay, cool. So now it's an X. It's an X because I said if the navbar toggler has a class of open on it, then the first span I want to rotate it 45 degrees and move it up 17 pixels. Although I'm not gonna do this way. I'm not gonna do translate because I've done this before and I know if I do translate and rotate at the same time, it's gonna animate in a weird way later when I want to animate it. So instead of using transform translate, I'll use um, position relative and move it up 15 or move it down 15 pixels. So I'm using position relative, which lets you move something relative to where it normally would be. Top 15 pixels means move it away from the top 15 pixels. It means move it down 15 pixels. And then here, do the same thing, but move it up with negative 15 pixels. As you can see, um, make this smaller. It's not quite the same. I guess, what was it? I did 17, not 15. Oh wait, it's a little bit different. Okay, in this case, it's going to be 12 pixels. Yeah, 12 pixels. It's that to form an X. And then if I take away the open class open off of the navbar toggler, it goes back to the 3 lines. If I add open, it becomes an X. So going back to the JavaScript, we need to do the same thing I did with navbar. I need to do that to the navbar toggler. Okay, so toggle nav will not just add a class of open to the navbar. It'll also do it to navbar toggler. Navbar toggle class list dot toggle open. So both of them will get that open class added to them. So it goes from 3 lines to an X when I click on it. Does that make sense? So same thing I did to the navbar to open and close it by adding the open class to it. I'm doing the same thing to the hamburger button or the navbar toggler. When I get the open class on it, I change the styles with this and open class or selector. We rotate the first span 45 degrees and move it down a little bit. We hide the middle one and then we rotate the last one negative 45 degrees and we move it up a little bit to form an X. And then we could animate that too if we do uh, transition all 0.3 seconds ease. It's not gonna animate until I add a transform rotate 0 to start with. It needs a start point. Transform rotate 0 degrees. That's what it starts with. Oh wait, not on the toggler, but I need to put that on the span. Here, that's the toggle. That's the whole thing itself, not the individual span. Individual span styles, I put it over here. I should probably put this before the open. Okay, so add a transition. All whatever, 0.3 seconds ease. Okay, so it animates, but I could go beyond and animate that a little bit nicer. Right now, it just, here, let me slow it down so you can see what's happening. Let's do 2 seconds. Okay, when I click on it, that looks fine, but when I click again, see, it looks kind of weird. It starts off like up there, down there, and then rotates back into position. So that movement, the lines going up and down, or the top position, that's not animating. And the reason is because it needs a start. Like it needs to know where to start from. So we start from top 0. We need position relative here too. So it's gonna start with position relative top 0, and it's gonna go top 12. Since we put position relative here, we don't need to put it here. That applies for all of it. So now when I do that, the movement of up and down also animates, so it doesn't just jump, but it forms the X kind of weird, like this comes down and that goes up instead of like doing a nicer movement. So what we could do is add a delay to the transition. Right now, it does transition all 2 seconds ease. But the reason why there's an all here is because I could do transition just position, and then it'll only transition, or sorry, not position, the top value. It'll only transition the movement and not the rotation. If I do um, transform, I forgot if you have to add a comma or no comma. Yeah, I do have to have a comma. Okay, so now everything's animating again, but I separated it. Here's the first one, the top. So that's the movement of up and down, going from top 0 to top 12 or negative 12. That's going to take 2 seconds with the easing animation, which means start off slow and speed up and then slow down again instead of linear, which is just constant speed. Transform also will take 2 seconds, also with ease. So that replaces just putting all, but the reason why you would want to separate them is so you could add a delay. Because if I add a second number here, 2 seconds is how long it'll take to animate. A delay would be a second number here. 1 second delay means now the movement is going to take a second to start. See, it rotates first, then it moves. Now let's add a 0 second delay for the rotation. Actually, let's switch it around. Let's do 0 and then 1 here. See what that looks like. That's cool. So that looks nicer, right? Whenever I click on it, first they come together, then they form an X. So first the transform, or what happens first? Let me slow this down to 1 second, or speed it up, I mean, and let's do 0.5 seconds, just because it's a little too slow. So when I click, first it comes together, then rotates, and then when I click again, it moves apart, then rotates again. So both ways, it does the same thing, but I think after it forms an X, it would be better if it rotates first. So that means transform takes 0 seconds, and then the rotation or the movement takes half a second. So basically, I want to reverse this depending on if I just clicked it or if I'm clicking it again the second time. And the way you do that is just by moving this to here, or you copy it actually. You copy this, put it here and here, but switch this. So now it's 1 second and 0 0.5, 0 0.5, 1. Okay, I don't know if I got it in the right order, but let's see. Might be the wrong order because let's see. Let's try switching this. Let's do 0 0.5 on this one, 0 on this one. Oh, sorry, I put the wrong number. It was right the first time, but I should have put 0 here, not 1. I actually put a 1 instead of a 0. Okay. No, I did get it reverse. So, okay. This one, see what's happening? It's doing the opposite. First, it's when I have a hamburger button, I click on it. First it rotates, then it moves. Okay, I want it to first move and then rotate. So we're just gonna switch to 0.5 and the 0 on all of these. So this is gonna be 0, this is gonna be 0.5. This is 0, 0.5. Now I think it'll look good both ways. Yeah, so now it closes nicely. It opens nicely. Nice parallel movement. But that's more of a CSS lesson right there. This is why I was saying trying to do things with just CSS can be confusing sometimes. But I mean, for something like that hamburger animation, it is just a complicated movement, so it's going to be confusing no matter what. But it looks good. Um, we could also transition the opacity since that's the only thing not transitioning. So we'll start off with the span having opacity 1. You always need a start um, state. Like what does it look like in the beginning of the animation? So it has to have opacity 1 to go to opacity 0. You can't just do animate or transition without first saying where it starts from. So here we'll put transition. Oh wait, we already have transition. We have to we have to chain it onto this, or else it's gonna replace it. So opacity 1 second, 0 second. Let's speed it up though. 1 second is too long. I'm gonna change that to 0.6, 0.3, 0.6, 0.6, 0.6, 0.6, 0.3, zero point 0.6, and 0.3. Okay, so it should do a little bit faster. And now the middle one fades too, so it looks nicer. And it opens and closes our navigation. The only thing we didn't animate, we should animate, is this max height on this thing. So look for the max height that we set. That was on the nav. I put max height 0, max height 700. Let's animate that too. So add a transition there. Transition, max height 0.6 seconds ease. Cool. All right. What's today? Wednesday. So, all right. Well, I guess we'll leave like slideshow for next time. I was also gonna do a carousel or a slideshow. That means having a little button on the right and another one on the left, clicking to change the picture. But we don't have time for that today. I mean, obviously we're right now we just got out of time, so but at least we got the navigation done, and this is the second time you guys have seen me create one of these, maybe not with the animation here. If you were in my last class, that is. If this is your first time with me, then it's the first time seeing this. Hopefully it's easy to understand, and I'm gonna share the code with you so you can review it. And then the video is gonna be up, so you could rewatch it if you need to. That's it for tonight.